Hi everyone, my name is Oliver, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. On July 11th, 2013, 21-year-old Jordan Lynn Graham led a car with her foster brother Michael and her close friend Hannah up going to the Sun Road, a 30-mile stretch of narrow, winding path leading up to a treacherous mountain overlook. They were in search of her husband who'd gone missing on July 8th, 2013, following a mysterious hunch by a suspect Gmail account, Carmentony607. They were searching Glacier National Park for signs of Cody Johnson, whom some unnamed friends had supposedly seen go off a cliff. The message read, "They are positive he fell and he is dead." Jordan, Cody's relatives, and friends searched the park alongside the potential widow, combing through over 1,500 square miles of wilderness filled with winding trails, swift flowing rivers, cliffs, mountain lions, and grizzly bears. Of all the cliffs and all the roads, Jordan led them up that particular one, claiming she had a feeling, ignoring numerous location suggestions from Michael and Hannah. At the very top, they stopped at a parking lot and hiked up the loop trail. It was an extremely steep trail leading up to a 200-foot cliff overlooking a deep ravine. Jordan navigated her way to the top with practiced ease and hopped past jagged rocks to the very edge of the cliff overlooking the ravine. Peering over it, she threw a rock off and said, "I think he's down there." It took a particularly brave FBI agent tying himself to a tree and leaning over the edge, and the aid of several emergency services and a helicopter to confirm and extract the body at the bottom of the ravine. The body belonged to Cody Johnson, a newlywed car enthusiast, businessman, and a pillar of the community. How did Cody end up here, and what did his wife and the mysterious Carmentony607 have to do with it? And who were the mysterious out-of-town friends that were with Cody when he fell? These were the questions that hounded the Kalispell Police Department for days to come. Cody Johnson was born on April 8, 1989, in San Jose, California, and he grew up with his mother, Cher Johnson, whom he was intimately close to. They moved to Kalispell in northwestern Montana in 2002. It is a small tourist town in Flathead Valley located between a lake with the same name and Glacier National Park. Cody spent most of his childhood exploring the great outdoors, driving on long trails with his friend, and kindling his lifelong obsession with all things cars. According to Cody's friends and family, he was real, personable, charismatic, and selfless. He was one of those rare types of people who wouldn't hesitate to go the extra mile to help you once they got to know you. Cody was also lucky enough to grow his lifelong interest in cars into a thriving business. It started with modifications and souping up cars for racing in his teenage years, but it eventually evolved to include commercial cars. Cody was a custom commercial car builder, but he also had a job at Nomad Communications, where he worked with his uncle and several of his car-loving friends. It also didn't hurt that his childhood best friend, Cameron Frederickson, was his boss. Life was pretty much perfect for Cody. The only thing missing was somebody to share that life with. At 23, Cody was in the market for a life partner. He talked to his friends about wanting to marry a church girl, and on Halloween 2011, he met Jordan, the woman who'd change his life forever. Born in August 1991, Jordan Lynn Graham lived in Kalispell all her life with her family. She grew up deeply religious and attended the Faith Baptist Church, where she babysat children and worked with families. Her whole life revolved around her faith. All her friends were in church, and it was her dream to one day become a stay-at-home mother and raise a family. Jordan and Cody hit it off when they met on Halloween 2011. She was initially shy before she opened up, and they got to talking. She told Cody about her dreams of starting a family and how much she loved nature and the outdoors. Jordan liked Cody, but she was only 20 years old at the time and was not looking to start anything serious. They went on a few dates, but remained just friends. All that changed when Cody began to seriously pursue her. He joined her church, First Baptist, and began to move in the same circles as she did. It wasn't long before their casual relationship evolved into something more, at least for one of them. They started dating officially in November 2011, and Cody was entirely taken by her. He adored her and wanted to be with her day and night. According to Cher Johnson, Cody was sure he wanted to marry Jordan a few weeks into their relationship, even when Jordan told him she wanted to maintain her chastity until marriage. He didn't change his mind. Marriage was slated for June 29, 2013, and immediately started planning. Cody was heavily involved, as was Kimberly Martinez, Jordan's best friend and matron of honor. However, it was Jordan who seemed the most interested in the wedding planning. She even performed a song. The couple hired a professional songwriter, Elizabeth Shee, to write the lyrics. The song seemed chillingly prophetic in hindsight. When Kimberly or anybody else broached the topic of actually being married to Cody, however, her mood soured. She asked her matron, Kimberly, several times if she was doing the right thing. On her wedding day, her true feelings about the union were impossible to hide. She was a nervous wreck. She was looking down a lot and didn't seem like she wanted to make eye contact with her husband. When it was time for wedding photos, Jordan seemed to have recovered well enough, and by the time they had their first dance, she was entirely focused on Cody. However, this bliss would not last for long. The morning after their wedding, she texted her friend from the hotel they were honeymooning from. She hadn't consummated their marriage and turned her husband away the first night of their wedding and the 6 other nights following that. "I just know he's going to want to do stuff, and I'm not really wanting to," and another using the "my period started" spiel. "Tonight I freaking hope it works, because if I'm forced to do something, I'm going to freak out." It turned out that Jordan was deathly afraid of sex. A combination of her faith and her true feelings towards Cody made her nervous about being intimate with him. Pressure continued to mount until July 7th, 8 days after their wedding. Cody was supposed to go golfing with friends, but he canceled at the last minute because Jordan had a surprise for him. After church and some alone time on the lake, the couple sat down to a communal dinner with a few of their friends at the local Dairy Queen. Cody went home with Jordan, and that was the last time anyone saw him. Cameron Frederickson was the first to notice Cody's absence. He was a model employee and always at work before the workday started. When Cody hadn't turned up far into the workday, Cameron stopped by Cody's new house that he'd bought with Jordan before their wedding. After knocking for a while with no answer, he got a little worried and let himself in. No one was in, so he searched the house looking for hints as to where Cody and Jordan could have disappeared to, with very little success. Cameron's worry morphed into fear when he found Cody's phone in the garage. Immediately, he knew something was wrong. Cody went everywhere with his phone. Leaving it behind could have been a sign that something horrible might have happened to him. Several calls later, Cameron discovered that no one had seen him since the dinner at Dairy Queen. At 8:30, Cameron went to the police station immediately to file a missing persons report, and the authorities took the case seriously from the get-go. Cameron's distress made it difficult not to. Officer Chaz Zimmerman was one of the first people to question Cameron. He found it strange that it was his boss who reported him missing, not his wife. Later that day, Kimberly finally got a hold of Jordan, and when she asked what happened, Jordan said the following. She said that she'd seen him leave with some buddies in a black car at Washington Plates. She told them that on their way back from the restaurant, he got a phone call that made him very upset, so she decided to give him some space. However, later that night, she went to the garage to get her phone charger that she supposedly left in their car. On her way back from the car, she got a text from Cody that said the following. "I got a message saying that he was going to go for a ride with some of his out-of-town buddies that were visiting. I have no idea who they were, but he always told me this one thing. When his friends came to visit, he would take them to Glacier Park." She told the police what she told Kimberly and expanded further. She told them she didn't recognize any of the men, and they hadn't fought that night. As for the reason for his disappearance, Jordan claimed she thought Cody was likely joyriding with his out-of-town friends. When the police pressed about why she didn't report the disappearance, she claimed she didn't want to upset him by filing a missing person report if he was going to come back in a few hours. 48 hours after the disappearance, Cody and Jordan's friends and families had gathered in their family home, and at this point, expressed confusion at Cody's behavior. It didn't sound like him to abandon his wife and tell no one where he was going. Still, Jordan stuck to her story until Kimberly confronted her. The longer the impromptu meeting went on, the more uncomfortable she seemed to get. Eventually, Jordan got so agitated that she threw her wedding ring across the room. Some thought it was her odd way of coping, but Kimberly was convinced there was something else going on. She called her friend when she got home the next day. Jordan was called into the station and confronted by the officers about her inconsistent accounts. "I'm getting some inconsistencies in what you're telling me with other information that I've already gathered, okay? And I've spoken to a few people, and it's important that I know that you're telling me the truth on things what I know." Well, I mean, and I understand that, okay, but I think that there's more. Sure, Johnson also saw the police sometime that day, armed with Cody's phone records from the day of the disappearance. She was worried about her son and hoped the mysterious man Cody called would shed some light on his whereabouts. But it ended up being a car friend calling to return a tool to Cody. He was immediately eliminated as a suspect because his wife was in labor when Cody disappeared. With all of their leads exhausted, the police turned their attention back to Jordan. She clearly had a story to tell, but it wasn't adding up. The break in the case they were desperate for came on July 10th. A mysterious message came from an email, Carmentony 607, and it declared that Cody was dead and they could call off the search. Hello Jordan, my name is Tony. There is no bother looking for Cody anymore. He is gone. Jordan approached Hannah with the email, face devoid of emotion, and told her about what Carmentony 607 said happened to Cody. He'd supposedly slipped and fell off a cliff in Glacier National Park with his mysterious friends. Hannah nearly lost it when she read the message, and she had to push a lethargic Jordan to go to the police. And I'm like freaking out like, what are you talking about? And I read the email and it says, Cody's gone, Jordan. Any emotion? No, she wasn't crying at all. She was just showing me this email, and I start shaking, and I told her to go to the cops, and she did go. But I was kind of just like rushing it, like go move, like what are you doing, don't just stand here looking at me. Instead of putting the police investigation to rest, the email only made them more paranoid. It seemed very convenient that an anonymous email would provide the information they were desperately searching for and advise them to call off the search. What alarmed Detective Corey Clark more than the particulars of the message was Jordan's lack of emotion. She didn't seem affected by a message basically confirming her husband's death. Based on the information in that email, Jordan decided to go to Glacier National Park with her close friends and family to search for Cody. Hannah described Jordan as strangely chipper the entire ride up to the park. The drive up, there was her waving her hand out the window. They found nothing by the end of the first day and resumed their search on the second, and it was then Jordan miraculously found Cody's body. We stand there, and she's like, I think he's down there, and I was like, what are you talking about? Why would he ever be going down there? Why would anybody do that? This wall is here for a reason. The coroner said that his head and arms took most of the damage from the fall. Cody's family and friends were devastated at the loss, but Jordan was relieved. According to Hannah, now that a body was found, the police would stop investigating. But the problem was the police still had no idea who Carmentony 607 was. When Jordan was initially questioned about the message, she pointed them at Tony Stalcup, a fellow car enthusiast and acquaintance of Cody. He hadn't seen Cody. Only one person knows the answer to that. That's Jordan. On July 18, 2013, the police called Jordan in, and when they presented her with evidence, she broke down into tears. She finally told the detective her version of what happened on the 8th of July. According to her, she confessed how she felt about their marriage to Cody, and they got into a huge argument. They both decided to go on a trip to Glacier National Park and headed for the loop. Jordan finishes the story in her own words. So, he would have fallen face first down the hill. Why did you continue to turn around and then push him off? I think it's because emotions were running so high. I was under pressure. I was angry. I was every emotion I could ever think of all at once. Her comment at the blindfold had the detectives eager to make a connection between a stray scarf at the bottom of the confession Jordan gave. Nothing was eventually proven. Jordan also claimed that Cody's death was accidental, and that no part of her planned the assault she would later come to receive. There was no planning on your part to kill Cody? No. Okay, you hadn't planned that until this whole thing just kind of happened? Yeah, in the heat of the emotion, of the passion of that situation. When asked why she pushed her husband Cody off the bridge, she said the following. She stated that he had turned his back to her. He was facing the cliff, and that's when she went up to him and with both hands pushed him in the back off the cliff. Jordan also confessed to creating Carmentony 607 at her stepfather's house and sending the messages. Jordan walked out of the police that day, surprisingly still a free woman. The police did not charge her and wouldn't charge her until July 22nd at Cody's funeral, where she was texting on her phone. This one act of disrespect evaporated any sympathy anyone had left for Jordan. Rumors had been circling that Jordan had killed Cody to escape their marriage because it was the only way she could take back her decision without disgracing herself and her family. If Cody were dead, she wouldn't need to divorce him. Her attitude at his funeral all but confirmed those rumors. People were beginning to question whether Jordan ever loved Cody. Jordan was charged with first and second-degree murder and making false statements. The jury also added the charge of premeditated first-degree murder after reviewing her case. Her trial finally started on December 9, 2013. The prosecution ruthlessly came after Jordan the moment the trial started, and a few days in, things were not looking good for her. They picked apart her story, raising vital questions like why she lied and led Cody's friends and family on, whether she was innocent and remorseful about her actions. The testimony from Cody's family and loved ones certainly didn't help her case. It painted her as a callous and unfeeling wife who murdered her husband to get out of sleeping with him. Her defense tried to argue self-defense, but it didn't look like they'd win. So Jordan went for a plea deal for second-degree murder. She would get 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole in exchange for the prosecution dropping the charge of first-degree murder. However, before her sentencing, Jordan changed her mind and tried to retract her plea when she heard the prosecution planned to go after her for premeditated first-degree murder. It carried a maximum sentence of 50 years, and it was up to us District Judge Donald Malloy to decide whether to honor her plea or start a new trial. On December 13, 2013, Jordan Lynn Graham was sentenced to 30 years and 5 months in prison and ordered to pay a fine of $16,917. But her case was never reopened or reviewed. The federal prosecution was determined to make a statement of her case. The sentence today is going to send a message that if you kill someone and are subject to federal jurisdiction, you will be prosecuted swiftly and severely punished for your crime. Jordan will not be leaving prison until she is over 52 years old.